Hi there, I am Ryan Erlacher and your HiTech Redneck. Don't forget to check out my entire, very thorough Learn to Podcast series over at yourhitechredneck.com. That's HITECH, yourhitechredneck.com. Very, very thorough training session, how to get your podcast going from the ground up. And it is much more affordable than the other courses that you might find out there online. And I guarantee it will teach you just as much, and you will get your podcast up and going and be very comfortable, even if you know nothing about podcasting. So head on over to yourhitechredneck.com. Check that out. Today I'm throwing some free content at you. This video is going to be all about how to use the Behringer MDX4600 Compressor limiter gate behind me. You can probably see it in my frame rack there. I looked around YouTube. There's some hit and miss videos with bits and pieces about the compressor limiter gate, the Behringer MDX4600. I wanted to make a very, very thorough video. So this is going to be a video geared towards the podcast or broadcast media type stuff and how to get this thing hooked up. We're going to go through cables. We're going to go through the knobs and adjustments. I mean, really, when you're done with this, you're going to see how thorough my videos are, and you will be able to hook this thing up in a podcast environment and be up and running. All right, with that said, let's rock and roll. Let's get to this thing, huh? All right, guys, let's unbox this. This is a multi-com, Behringer multi-com Pro XL MDX 4600 compressor limiter gate. I'm going to do a very, very comprehensive tutorial video here. We'll first unbox it, and then I'm going to take you in the studio, and I'm actually going to hook this up. We're going to go through all the cables, exactly how you need to hook it up, step by step. I won't skip anything, and we'll show where the knobs and buttons and everything need to be for a podcast type environment. This will be strictly for a podcast type environment. So let's get into it. And don't forget to head over to yourhitechredneck.com. That's yourhitechredneck, HITECH. Check out my complete Learn to Podcast tutorial series. There's some other really cool stuff over there too, but if you like this video, this will just be a little sample of what you'll get over there. If you get my podcast, Learn to Podcast course, you'll be able to start from the ground up. If you know nothing, don't worry about it. You'll be able to do that. So you'll be able to podcast everything you need to know. So check it out. This is the Behringer MDX4600 compressor limiter gate. A lot of people are confused about this thing. I'm going to make it so that you're not confused about it. So there's the front, there's the back, and let's go ahead and get in the studio and see what we can do with this thing. All right, guys, welcome. Let's get right into this thing. Again, this is for a podcast type environment for the Behringer MDX4600 compressor limiter gate. Free video by yourhitechredneck.com. Make sure and head over there. Get the entire Learn to Podcast video series. Very thorough, much more affordable than any other courses out there that I know of. And you can do it at your pace, step by step, and video at a time, and as you can afford it. All right, guys. This is the Mackie 1202 VLZ4. Why are we talking about mixers? Well, you're going to need a mixer before you hook up a compressor for this type podcast environment. Make sure whatever, I use Mackie, that's what I'm comfortable with. Had really good luck with them, and they work very well. I have two of them right now. In fact, I have a backup one, but make sure whatever kind of mixer you have, that you have channel inserts, and those are in-out type inserts, and you're going to need those. They put an out signal, and the signal comes back all in one insert. There's one insert there for each. If you look at the top there of the mixer, if you were looking down on it, and there's 4 XLR inputs for my microphones on top, and one of those channel inserts coincides to each of those microphone channel strip inserts. So there's one channel insert for each microphone input channel. All right, if that makes sense, and you'll understand it as we go along here. Make sure your mixer has that. Here's my Mackie and the insert. This is my other Mackie mixer. The insert you can see is on top. There's one for mic 1 and mic 2, and it doesn't say channel insert. It just says insert. Again, same thing. It's an in-out type signal. You're going to need that with your mixer. Cable. You're going to need one of these for each mic input that you have. I have 4 mic inputs, but I only run 3. My 4th channel, I run something else, which we'll get into. So this is a 1/4 inch TRS to 1/4 inch TS. So 1/4 inch tip ring sleeve to 1/4 inch tip sleeve type connectors and cable. Let's talk about the colors. Now, gray, you can see there is labeled tip. and that is your send side. The red is your ring side, and it's labeled ring, or your return side. All right. And TRS, tip ring sleeve, is stereo, and just tip sleeve, you can take that as mono. You'll hear those terms sometimes for those types of connectors. So yeah, that's going to come into play as we hook this thing up. The send side is gray. The return, just remember, red return is your return side. All right, you're going to need that kind of cable. I believe these are hoses that I got off Amazon. Go to your HiTechRedneck.com. Use our link Amazon banner if you can. And that gives us a little kickback, and it'll take you to these cables. All right, now that's my Mackie mixer up there, and I'm going to actually get out of this so I can use my mouse to show you guys a few things as we go through this. Now, hopefully this makes perfect sense, and I'll walk through it with you. And by the time I'm done here, it will make sense. I guarantee that. All right, so again, here's our cable we just talked about. We're going to use one of these right now. Right up here is my XLR input. That's where my microphone cable goes in. All right, now this channel 1 coincides with this mic input. So I'm going to take that 1/4 inch TRS stereo. I'm going to plug it in here. The signal is going to come out. It's going to go down. This indicates that it splits into 2. The cable does. As you can see, it goes from 1 to dual. Okay, so here's where our cable splits. It goes into gray. The gray side indicates our gray, our tip, our send. All right, so we're sending this. It comes out of the mixer. Boom, splits. Our gray in goes down, and it goes into the input side on this channel. There's one for each channel. One on the compressor. Channel 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, the banks and the lights and the knobs on the front of this thing coincide to each channel. This is a 4-channel. So we go in, and then it goes into the compressor, the signal. It compresses, does what it needs to do. Then we need to return it, red return. So the red plugs in here. It goes back up, right? And then it goes back into this one cable, and it goes back into your mixer. It returns it. So out the gray, into the back input side of the compressor. It does its thing, sends the signal back out, and of course this cable goes back into 1, and it's still plugged in there. Now, if you just plug this in right here, the TRS, 1/4 inch TRS, and you didn't plug in this end, the red and gray, it doesn't. I guess what I'm getting at is it stops the signal. Once you plug something in here, it tells the mixer, don't let that signal go any farther. So it's not going to go into your mixer until it goes out. It has a source, which is our compressor here, to do its thing and then be sent back out into the mixer. Once it's sent back into the mixer, then the mixer says, okay, cool. It lets it back into the rest of the mix, all your other inputs, and out to your final recording device, if that makes sense. So that's basically by putting that in, it stops the signal right there, and it's got to send it into the compressor. So again, mic 2, if you have a mic 2, same thing, same cable, same in, does its thing, out, and back into the mixer. And you can do a 3rd mic and a 4th mic. All right, so there you go. Let's talk about, move to our next slide here. All right, let's talk about mix minus in a moment here, but first you're going to need these types of cables to hook up a mix minus, and a mix minus is for like doing a Skype interview, so the person that you're interviewing doesn't hear their voice back in an echo, and after they talk, they hear their self-talk, and that will make sense here in a minute. 1/8 inch TRS to 1/4 inch TS. So the 1/8 inch TRS right there is like a basic headphone jack that would plug into your iPhone or your computer. That's the size. And then of course the 1/4 inch TS is the size that your mixer takes. So you're going to need 2 of those. And then you're going to need a 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch TS tip sleeve, also known as a patch cable, to go in between your mixer and your compressor. Let's talk about this a little bit. I'm going to get out of this again so I can use my mouse. So with the mix minus, I dedicate my laptop to my Skype interview, and I use my iMac, my regular iMac, for all my sound inputs and show notes, and I'm surfing the web while I'm doing the podcast and whatnot. I dedicate a separate device. You can use whatever you want, as long as you can get a Skype signal and the voice on whatever kind of device you use. You want to go out with that 1/8 inch TRS. We go out, and we go in mono here, which is a TS, a tip sleeve. Remember, we use this cable right here. And you go into the input side, so you're coming out the Skype. His voice or her voice is going into the compressor. It's getting compressed, do all the stuff. Then you come out of here with the patch cable, the 1/4 inch TS to 1/4 inch TS. You come out, and we got to put their voice into the mixer. Now, because it's a mono, it's a TS, and you're only going in with one cable instead of two, make sure you go into the mono side of your whatever channel insert you want, whatever channel strip. This is another one. I probably have my regular Mac going into this and then my laptop going into this insert. But because we're coming out with that one left channel, go to the mono side. All right. Now we've got to get that signal back out. We want this person on Skype to hear everything except their voice. So what we do is we plug this into the aux-send, the 1/4 inch TS, and we go back into the computer. Now, if we just did that, they're going to hear everything in the mix. They're going to hear my mics, they're going to hear their voice, my computer input. We want them to hear everything except their voice. So down here on the mixer, on this particular mixer, there'd be a knob. It's an aux-send knob. I'll show you later. And you turn that aux-send knob all the way down on this channel. That way, now, just because you turn this aux knob down in your final product, in your final recorder, you're still going to hear everything going into the mixer, including their voice. This just isolates it. So we turn that knob all the way down, the aux-send knob, and this isolates it, and it turns that aux-send off for just this channel, and that going back to the computer, that way they cannot hear their voice. Otherwise, if you don't do that and a mix minus, they'll go in, they'll come out, and by the time it gets back to them, their voice, it's delayed, and they'll actually hear their own voice in the headphones, and you can't do an interview like that. It's ridiculous. So you got to do this, and that's a mix minus. And the great thing about having it go through the limiter, the compressor, is you can put a peak limit on them, and if there's any low background noise, you can set that trigger, that gate. Don't worry, we'll get into that, but this is how you would set up your mix minus. All right, let me get to the slide we need. Yep, I don't know why I got so many extra slides in here, guys. I apologize. All right, so here, let's talk about nomenclature and the knobs a little bit. This is just a reference. You can come back to this at any time. I wanted to make it so you have a reference to come back to. You can mess with these knobs as much as you want. I'm going to tell you how to set them to get a really good result for podcasting, and then we'll talk much further when I do a picture-in-picture live video of actually getting this thing set up and when it's working later in this tutorial. Trigger knob right here is your gate that sets the low end, and we'll get more into that. Don't worry about what background noise, where you want that gate to close so it doesn't hear. I set mine at 4 lines from off, 4 lines clockwise. So turn it to off and then count 1, 2, 3 lines. That's a great place to start that knob, a great place for your gate. And again, if you're confused, don't worry, it will come all together. This is just where I set them. The threshold, ratio, and output knobs I will talk about later in the course a little bit. I leave those straight up and down. I have played with them a little bit. The output, we're going to talk a little more bit about that. You can get some extra gain out of that, but I leave those straight up, and that is where I suggest you start with them. The peak limiter, where we want to peak, I always set it 0. You can move it up a little bit. Real world results, sometimes we go a little bit past 0 to get a little bit better voice quality sometimes, but again, that's more advanced, and I talk much more about that in my very advanced Learn to Podcast series at HiTechRedneck.com. We get really advanced about gain levels and stuff like that, but I would suggest just do it at 0. That's where I do it for my compressor right now, and it seems to work really good. So that would be, and then you see the lit up buttons. Those are the only buttons that I push in and activate as your compressor. We want to compress it, and the enhancer seems to work very well. And then I put in and out, so that signal is going in and out of the compressor. Those are the only 3 buttons that I push in and keep lit up. That's exactly how I have mine. I leave the peak. Pretty much the only button I mess with now and then is the trigger, which is the gate, the low end, depending on what kind of background noises I may have on a particular channel, like a Skype channel or another guy on a microphone who might be a heavy breather or something. But don't worry, we're going to get into all that a little bit later in this tutorial. Again, free tutorial video here by your HiTech Redneck. Check out the complete Learn to Podcast video tutorial series. Very affordable, much more affordable than I found anywhere online. Trying to keep it at a rate you guys can get to get more people into podcasting. It's an awesome thing. You can learn at your pace. You can buy a video at a time. No commitment. I mean, you just buy a video at a time, and as you learn it and as you can afford that video or whatever, you just keep plugging along at your own pace. That's how it works. All right, here's a rear shot. And you see my mixer there, it's partially hooked up, but we are going to have to go into the mixer and all that, and into the compressor gate, limiter compressor gate, and all that. But I do want to talk real quick. Don't forget, go to yourhitechredneck.com. It's HITECH, yourhitechredneck.com. Get my complete Learn How to Podcast tutorial series. Very, very in-depth, very, very thorough. This video should just give you a little example about how thorough it's going to be. But I don't like to leave anything out. I like people to leave not confused, like a lot of the stuff out there. So I get really in detail and don't skip anything. So here we go, back on my mixer. And of course, in my podcast, Learn to Podcast series at yourhitechredneck.com. There's a bunch of other stuff, but in that tutorial series, one of the videos is everything you need to know about mixers, knobs, knob adjustments. I show you exactly where to put your knobs if you're using a Mackie. Even if you're not, you'll still, once you learn the basics of the mixer, you'll be able to figure it out on a different brand once you understand how they work and what they do. All right, into this. This is the back of my mixer, and you're going to need these on your mixer if you're going to hook up this compressor limiter gate. All right, let me see if I can get you a better shot here. And you're going to need what's called channel insert. All right, and I've got 4 of them right here, and I'm trying to get you guys. It's a little bit dark in here, but you'll see on the back there, channel insert. And that is these 4 right here. All right. We've got channel 1, which is mic 1. Oops, mic 1 insert. 2, mic 2, mic 3. And then we've got additional, which is whatever other kind of input on this channel strip here. So you've got some different type inputs. And yeah, 1 through 4. So you're going to want to make sure that your mixer has, it's going to say inserts, and these are, like I've discussed, in and out. And I'll show you the cables we're going to use. These are 1/4 inch TS tip sleeve, so that's the kind of cable we're going to be using. And we're going to go up here to the back of the mixer, or excuse me, the compressor limiter gate, and we're going to be using these inputs and outputs. So anyways, again, we'll be using these on the mixer sometimes, like on my I had a Mackie 802 VLZ3 before I had this 1202 VLZ4, and these inserts were up here underneath the mic's inputs. So they might put them somewhere else, but you're definitely going to have a mixer that has these. I would suggest it. That's the way I know how to hook it up. So, all right, let's get into this. Here's my other mixer that I'm replacing, but this is a good mixer. It's still really good. I'll use it for travel and stuff, but it's a Mackie 802 VLZ3, and I wanted to show you. See, here's the mic inputs, and here's those inserts. Instead of on the back like they are on the 1202 VLZ4, they put them up here. So you still have them, but you got to have those inserts. They're in and out. So a cable we're going to use sends it out to the compressor limiter gate and then comes back in, all with 1/4 inch TS. All right, and I'll show you those cables. So I just want to show you kind of a different style mixer and where yours may be located. All right, let's hook this bad boy up. First thing I want to talk to you about is cables, all right? The first cable, and we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to go over it again, is your 1/4 inch TRS, tip ring sleeve cable, into dual 1/4 inch TS tip sleeve mono. So 1/4 inch stereo TRS to dual 1/4 inch mono TS tip sleeve. I'm going to use 3 of these cables, mic 1, 2, 3. Mic 1, 2, 3. It's going to come out of my mixer, go into my compressor limiter gate, and then be returned to my mixer. And then it can go into the mix and come out at the proper levels and all that. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about those cables real quick. So with that 1/4 inch stereo TRS, I'm going to hook it into input 1 of the inserts in my mixer, which is mic 1 for me. And then we've got tip and ring. Gray is tip here, you can see, and red is ring. Tip is always your send, okay? So this is your send cable. So coming out of our mixer, our mic goes in. Before it even goes into the mixer, it gets hung up here and comes out into this cable. So that'll be our input into our compressor limiter gate. And ring is return. So it's going out of here now, out of my mixer, up here into the compressor limiter gate. Now it's been whatever, did its deal, did its job. Now we want to do return, which is the ring. and we're going to put that to output in the compressor limiter gate. Now it's coming back out, the send, and going back into the mixer. Then it's getting mixed in the mixer, and it'll come out my main out into my external digital recorder. All right, but that's how you hook that up. And then of course, I'm not going to show you every single, but again, for mic 2, input 2, I go into the insert with the 1/4 inch TRS, into dual 1/4 inch TS, again, tip send, which is the input here. We're sending from the mixer, we're inputting into the compressor limiter gate, goes in, we want it to come back out, so we put it to the red, return, it returns back into the mixer, and I'm going to hook one more right up there, but I think you get the hint on that. All right, I'm just going to work here real quick. We talk about this extensively and a bunch of other stuff in my very thorough Learn to Podcast series tutorials at yourhitechredneck.com. That's HITECH. But I'm just going to button some wires up here and make things look pretty. So I'll be right back with you. But I'm really into cable management. I don't like stuff all over. All right, I want to talk about 3 cables you're going to need. We're going to hook up a mix minus if you want to do Skype interviews and you want to use, I've got 1 channel left. Remember, I have mic 1, 2, and 3 on the first 3 banks. Make sure you guys can see that okay. And on number 4, I'm going to hook up a secondary computer. Now my main computer over here is my main computer. It goes to my main input. I do all my, you know, sound and music and you know, if I'm playing videos, whatever, on my podcast, my notes, everything's done on my main. I always have my secondary backup, which is my laptop. That's what I do my Skype interviews. That's why I can just dedicate it to Skype. So I'm going to hook this laptop, and we're going to use the compressor limiter gate. I'm going to show you how to do that, to do a mix minus, so that the person on the other end of Skype doesn't get feedback or doesn't hear their voice, an echo type deal, which is, if you don't do a mix minus, you'll probably have that problem. So I'm going to show you how to hook this up. Plus, they'll be hooked through the limiter gate, so we can cut out any low frequencies if there's any static or anything, and we can put a peak on them, same as we do for each person and the microphone. But first thing you're going to need 2 of these. This is just a simple 1/8 inch TRS tip ring sleeve to 1/4 inch TS. And the reason is, I'm going to come out of the headphone jack on my laptop here, and I'm going to go into the back. So I'm plugging into my output right here, my headphone jack in my laptop, because I want to go out into the back on this channel, this bank right here of the compressor limiter gate. So let's go ahead and move. You're going to need 2 of these, because we're going to have to come back out of our aux send, and I'll show you, and back into our computer once we put the mix minus on it. All right, 2 of those, and then you're going to need what's called a patch cable, some people call them, but it's a 1/4 inch TS to 1/4 inch TS. That's it. Very simple, and that's to go from the mixer to here. So let's move around the back. Again, we've got this coming out of the laptop, this one coming out of the laptop, and I'm going to go back here, and I'll show you where to put that in the compressor limiter gate. Around the back of the compressor limiter gate, there's my cable over here. This again is the one coming out of the output on my laptop. Okay, 1/4 inch TS, and I'm just going to plug that into the input side, because we're coming out of the laptop and we want to go in to the compressor limiter gate. All right, and then we've come into with the laptop into the back of the compressor limiter gate. Now we've got to use the patch cable, the 1/4 inch TS, and I'm going to plug that in. Okay, and the other end of this cable is again the 1/4 inch TS. We've got to go into the mixer now. So we've gone into the compressor limiter gate. We're coming out. We're going to go into the mixer. And you can see right here I already have my main input besides my mics. That's my main computer. I'm going to use this next channel strip right here. And since we've only got 1 cable, we're going to go into the side. And I don't know how well you can see it, but I may get a shot on the other side. But it says mono right here. So because we're only coming out with 1 cable, we're just going to go into the mono side of this channel. And it says mono on the mixer, so I know my hand's in the way, but I'll go around the other side and see if you can get a better shot of that. But I'm just going in mono one side, okay? And then we're going to grab another cable, and we're going to come out our aux send port. Right, guys, and this is our 1/4 inch TS, and of course the other side of this cable is the second, and it's the 1 1/8" TRS. So we went into the mixer. Now we've got to come out and we'll create the mix minus. Of course, we'll have I'll show you the level knob that we'll do, but I'm going to come out of one of these aux send ports right here, and I'm going to just use aux send 1, port 1, and it says on there, I don't know again how well you can see it, but it says aux send on it right here. Okay, you just have to look on your mixer, but aux send is where I'm sending. And then the other end of this, we're going to go back to the laptop, and this is going to go the input of the laptop for the return. Around on the laptop side, and this little cable will go on the input to my laptop, the mic in. All right, and once you have that all set up, you may need a connector for your laptop. I do. I'm not going to, it's just called iMic, and it allows you to have an output and an input on your laptop. But I don't have it right now. It's in another room, but that's what you would, so I could go back into my laptop. And that's how I'd hook up my mix minus. Let me show you some of the knobs. All right, quickly guys, I just want to show you, this is the patch cable that comes out of the compressor limiter gate into this channel strip on my mixer. And you can see, I hope, it says mono on it. All right, I'm going to unplug that. And again, we go into the left channel, the mono, because it is coming out mono. All right, I'm going to get that out of the way. And then back here is the cable that that I was using that comes out of the aux send 1 and into my computer, into the laptop. All right, I'm going to plug this back in to its appropriate channel. And that's how we create the mix. Of course, all my other inputs are, all my aux knobs are at unity. Okay, and of course this channel, I want my guests to hear everything except their own voice, and so we're coming in this channel. I don't want them to hear this channel, so I'm going to minus it out, and I don't have to do both, but I'm just going to do one, this bank. I don't need any of the aux going out, so all they're going to hear is all the mics coming in, my main computer music and sounds, but they're not going to hear their own voice going back out because I've shut this bank off so it does not go out that aux send. All right, and again, we've got it hooked up through the compressor, and I'll show you in a little bit how we can, you know, the knobs and functions, but that's how we can get a mix minus using and going through the compressor limiter gate. But again, make sure you go to my very, very thorough Learn to Podcast tutorial series at HiTechRedneck.com. That's HITECH. Really, really go into this mixer. This is just kind of a, I mean, it's detailed, but it's more about the compressor limiter gate. But again, my courses are very, very thorough, and you'll feel very comfortable. I give you diagrams, and I give you live shots like this. So yeah, if you want to learn how to podcast from the ground up, and you don't want to spend $2,000, $3,000, then definitely check out my course. You'll be able to podcast with the best of them. All right, guys, here we are in the studio. You're going to see picture-in-picture right here, and you're going to see my bank of the compressor limiter gate, which I'm pointing at now. That's going to be in shot, in frame during this tutorial as we figure out how to use this whole thing and I explain it to you. So you'll be paying attention to that mostly. I guess what I want to first say is I am no expert on this compressor limiter gate, or any compressor limiter gate for that matter. This video is going to be very, very geared towards using it for a audio, to record audio, podcast, broadcast media, stuff like that. I'm going to say that, you know, I don't have any instruments hooked up to it. I don't know how to use it for music. I bought this thing and I tested the crap out of it, okay? I looked all over YouTube. There's no good videos on YouTube that really sit down and explain how to use this thing for podcasting. Well, I'm going to do that for you guys. And by the time you're done, you'll be able to purchase one of these if you want, and I guarantee you'll be able to get it up and running. And you've seen how to hook it up already. I've showed you all that. We went through everything, so now it's ready to go. It's powered up, and we're really going to get down and dirty and figure out what this thing can do for us and how to make some of the adjustments, okay? Again, audio, that's what this tutorial's for, how to use this compressor limiter gate for podcasting or broadcast media, voice recording, okay? I will tell you that I'm going to mention some things down, you know, of course, I got my mixer. Above that, I've got my headphone amplifier. You can check that video out. And again, go to HiTechRedneck.com, HITECH, that's HiTech, HiTechRedneck.com. And you can get my full Learn to Podcast series. Very, very in-depth, very, very detailed. And you can do it at your pace, step by step. You buy a video at a time, and I guarantee it's right like I'm sitting with you, and you will have, I guarantee, any questions you had are going to be answered. I don't care if you know anything about podcasting. You're going to learn from the ground up, and I can teach you. And I can teach you way cheaper than a lot of the other courses out there online. And it's just as valuable, and I think the content is just as good. I'm just trying to keep it reasonably priced for you guys. So, because it's a cool thing, podcasting. So anyways, enough said about that. Again, your HiTechRedneck.com, HITECH. Compressor limiter gate, we're going to learn how to use it in your podcast studio. So let's go with this thing. Now, it does a lot of stuff. We're not going to use all of it. Like I said, I tested this thing. Everything I tested is adjustments and trying to figure out. I read the instructions, of course, but you really just have to play with it to learn it. And I did that for you. And I'm going to take you're not going to have to spend hours and hours and hours of test recordings and things like that. So you see up here, it's lighting up the meter, okay, as I talk. Basically, what we can do with the compressor limiter gate, the main thing we want to use it for in podcasting is to put a gate on the low end. So if sounds in the studio or my voice or something goes below a certain decibel, then the gate, that's the gate side of it. And that's right here. It says trigger. This is the gate side of it, okay? And we can adjust that. And we're going to do a couple demonstrations, and then we're going to talk about the peak side of it. All right. And you can see right here, this light, okay? When it's green, I'm talking, the gate's open. When it goes red, there, you saw it go red. That means the gate's closed, and so it's not picking up sounds. I have it adjusted 4 lines up right now. That's pretty much where I leave it. Okay. You may have to, you can adjust that. And of course, there's a bank for each microphone all the way over. This is one bank you're looking at right here. Okay. But you can adjust each one individual, but that's something you'll have to play with. And let me show you this limiter or this trigger and this gate, how to adjust it real quick. So what I'm going to do, you're going to see me blowing into my microphone. Actually, I'm going to swallow. I just did. So, and you probably didn't hear that swallow. If I turn that gate all the way down, this is where it can help if you have mouth noises or stuff like that. It can help with that. It can help with some of the popping, the plosive P's and things. Just depends. But here you go. All right. You can hear my lips and stuff. Now I'll turn that up and I'll do it again. I'm going to turn it up 4 lines. Okay, I did this. I'm doing the same thing with my lips and stuff, but you can't hear it because that noise fell below a certain decibel that I have it set, and it goes all the way up to plus 10. The trigger does. I just like it here. It seems to get, if you have heavy breathers in your studio, so if you stop talking and you have these guys, let me turn this down. And with it all the way off, of course, you can hear everything. That's unfiltered. There's no gate, so you can hear. All right, I'm breathing, and if you get those heavy breathers, and I run 2 other mics in my studio, and I just had a guy that was a real heavy breather, and every time he would stop talking, and before I had this limiter gate, which that's why I'm stoked about it, you would hear him breathing. I would try to mute his mic and stuff, but then he would try to talk. It was a mess, and he's only in the studio once. It's not like he's practiced at this where he can turn his head while he's breathing and listening, but all right, so it can help with heavy breathers and, mouth noises and things like that. So I'm going to turn it up now. All right, so I was breathing there out of my nose, rather heavy, and you couldn't hear it. So it's great because it closes that gate. When I stop talking, the gate closes, and anything below that doesn't pick up. All right, very cool. So guys sitting there, in your studio, breathing hard and stuff like that. Really good for that. So let me show you when you turn the gate real up. It's up 4 lines. Like I said, that's where I like it. That's where I leave it most of the time. With Skype interviews and things like that coming in, you might have to lower it a little bit. You'll know because you'll hear it in your earphones when the gate kicks in. All right. So I'm going to blow in my microphone, and we're going to turn the gate up till it stops. And I'm going to show you what this does. All right, the gate's up really high, so I'm talking loud to open that gate. And I turn it back down. And I was blowing like that the whole time, but we turned it up enough to where if it fell below a certain decibel, it closed that gate. So there you go. Let's do this real quick. It can be kind of bad too if you do have background noise. And let me turn on a fan here. Hang on. not normal that you run a fan in your podcast studio, but I want to show you. All right. Turn the gate all the way off. So now you can hear that fan in the background. All right. Now, normally talking with the gate off, you can hear everything, all right? The bad thing would be, is where it can be bad, is if you do have a noisy computer fan or something like that and you turn the gate up, we're going to turn it up till it stops. And I can hear this in my headphone, guys. All right. So I stopped it, and again, there's my level. But now, watch. Every time I'm talking and the gate's open, you can hear that fan in the background. And this is really good part to wear earphones on while I'm testing this stuff, so you can really hear the background noise. So I should have told you at the beginning, but definitely wear headphones for this part, because it'll help you a lot to understand what I'm talking about. You might not hear it on your computer, but so every time I talk, if you heard that in the background, it could become rather annoying. Okay, so and every time somebody talked, you would hear me and that fan in the background. So in that case, it might be better to just hear it. I don't know, but that's really, I just wanted to show you that little test. No fan, and then now fan. So let me turn the fan off. All right, guys, I'm going to turn the gate back up. So you can see, it could cut out a lot of background noise, but you're going to hear it every time you talk because you're opening up that gate. So there's some things you can use it for, just those low kind of noises. I just tapped on my desk. I tapped on paper. That's what it's great for while you're podcasting. See, I'm tapping. I'm moving paper. Now I'm moving paper again. Especially while I'm not talking, as I can do it while my guests are talking and they've opened the gate. So right there, I was moving paper and banging on the desk. All right. You get it. That's your gate. You don't need either of these buttons pushed. There is some stuff up here. Like I said, guys, I'm not going to explain this whole thing. I'm just showing you what I've learned, how it works for podcasting. And I tested this thing thoroughly. So that's enough said. What I do want to show you guys, see when the gate kicks on, all right? And you can see the red light there. That's the gate. So in between words, it's hitting the red light and it's hitting the gate. All right. Enough said about that. We're going to skip these two buttons. You can mess with them, threshold and ratio. You can change the threshold. I've got directions here, and a lot of this stuff is, I'm just telling you, straight up works. You can control the threshold to adjust the compressor threshold. We're not going to get into that too much. You can play with it if you want after. I'm just telling you the basic settings that works, where I pretty much leave it. And then you can adjust the ratio. And if you want to read what the ratio is about, you can change the ratios of compression and things like that. I just leave it straight up at the 4:1 there. And then we can go to output. I will tell you about this one. I don't use it, but you can. And that would be if you wanted to adjust up the amount of gain. It's kind of you can reduce gain into your, so this is the output. Of course, the line's going back into my mixer. I've already explained that to you guys when we hooked it up. But I can actually adjust gain. And as I do that, the lights go up on my mixer because I'm pumping more output into my mixer. You can play with that if you want. Reduce it if you do need to adjust your outputs for whatever reason. I go out of my mixer into my Roland, so I adjust my input and output level into my external digital recorder. And again, you can learn all about that in my podcast course that I give at HiTechRedneck.com. But that's what I'm recording into right now. So I adjust kind of my inputs and where I want my levels there. But just know that it is there. I always put the enhancer button, enhance the compression, and then up here the compressor, so it's working. And then I always put the in-out button. All right. And that's, I'm not getting, like I said, I could go another hour and try to talk about some of the stuff, which I'm not an expert on. So that's where I leave all three of these. But know that you do have the output option there. It's kind of cool. I have played with that a little bit. And then, all right, let's talk about the other thing, the really important thing that we as podcasters want to do, and that is we get the people and we get excited or we start laughing in the mic, or my guests get excited and they're not disciplined with their mic. Well, before I had this compressor limiter gate, I had to be on the ball with my mixer to try to, if somebody started talking loud, I would have to try to do levels real quick to back them off, and it would sound like crap, and I'd have to give signs like, back off the mic, or I'd say closer to the mic, because Now, once you get experienced, so if I would talk loud before I had the limiter gate, I would just back up and talk back here, or if I wanted to laugh really loud, I knew to back up. Otherwise, it would get really muffled without that. And you guys know what I'm talking about, just that distortion if you're talking real close to the mic. All right. Well, with the limiter, I set it at 0, and that basically says that my voice is not going to peak. It's not going to go above 0. Anything above 0 is peaking to a certain extent. I mean, you can go a little above 0 if you want. I have played with that on my mixer and stuff, but for podcasting, I think it's best just to have it at 0. That's the threshold. So if my voice goes over 0, it's going to limit it and it's going to start compressing it. So what that means at the end of the day is I can talk as loud in my mic as I want, and it's not going to muffle it. It's not going to distort it. And on my external digital recorder, I also have a limiter on there, so it limits it there too. But like I say, that's a little more advanced for the podcast course. But for this purpose, you can see right now, normal levels, I'm just going to talk. And of course, I would adjust my gain on my mixer. So I, was coming in kind of where we wanted to be as far as lights where I want to be. I wouldn't want to adjust the gain way up, where I was constantly, that red light was coming on. Okay. So you want to get your gain on your coming into this thing adjusted real good on your mixer so that it's pretty much just green lights. All right. And it really doesn't matter where the green lights go up to, because every time I go above 0, and I'll show you guys, test, you saw the limit light go on, and you saw right here is the gain reduction. So the red light's to the left here, test. It's showing me not only that I'm limiting, but it's also showing me how much it's in gain reduction. So 136. So test. So there you go. It's showing me how much it's reduction. It's showing me that it's limiting it. So I try to adjust my gain so pretty much just the green lights are. You wouldn't want every word to have 4 red lights in it, reducing the gain, because it would be really loud in your headphones. And the more gain you adjust, obviously, you could have it up high and you could have red lights banking all there in gain reduction, and it's going to compress it for you. But the problem is when us as podcasters know, when you get the gain up too high, you start getting all the background noises a lot more. Of course, we can control that with the gate a little bit, but I would suggest get your gain levels, and you can adjust on my mixer, which is down here, and I can mess with my mixer and get these lights so that they're pretty much just flashing green. I don't mind once in a while if it limits there. That's a pretty good level because I'm talking normal right now is my normal voice. Or if I get a little excited, okay, well, gain 1, it reduced it 1. There you go. So when that kicks in, it's reducing it. So what that means to me is I'm going to talk real loud, and I'm going to count really loud, and you're going to see the reduction in gain. You're going to see it limit, but at the end recording, it's not going to be muffled, and it's not going to hit that peak like you all know what I'm talking about if you're just running a mixer, and it just distorts and sounds crappy. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So there you go. And it compressed all that, and it went into my external digital recorder, compressed, and it wouldn't let me go past this 0. And so even though it was reading, up there, and it's going to stop it right there, and it's going to limit it. So those are the great things that we're going to use this for. Again, my 2 buttons, enhancer lit up, compressor lit up, in and out lit up. These 3 I don't mess with. If you do need some extra gain, you can hit the output right there. If you want to read on these, you can, but they seem to work for podcasting there real well. And then, like I say, if you do have louder noises, or one of your guys is on a bank and he's a heavy mouth breather, you might turn his up to even here, because even there, I turn my gate up to 20 and you can hear me fine. But I can breathe and swallow and do all this kind of stuff, and you can hear the gate close. It's dead silence in the background. So that's a really cool thing. So if you do have a mouth breather or somebody that's making a lot of mouth sounds and stuff, you can certainly hit that trigger and mess with that. But this is a good place to start. 4 lines up from off. Really, really good place to start. So guys, you know what? You set it up. I showed you how to set it up. You get your buttons set there. You get all these lit up where you're supposed to. Now you know what the lights mean. And you know how to adjust your gain on your mixer, pump it into this thing. You want it
you know, like I said, right there where it's some green lights, and maybe once in a while you're hitting a gain reduction of 1. And then of course there's going to be times test where you're going to get really loud and laugh, and you're going to hit, you know, gain reduction of 6, test or whatever. But that's okay, because in the end recording you're going to be all right, because it's compressing it, it's limiting it, and it's not allowing it to go over that 0. All right, guys, I hope this video has been very helpful, and I hope this portion really brought it all together for you guys now that you can see it in action. This is all you need. And like I said, I wanted to make this video for you guys because I searched all over YouTube, and I got this thing and I had to mess with it myself and try to figure this dang thing out. And again, I'm no expert on it, but I guarantee if you use it in this fashion, you're going to get awesome results for your podcast. Don't forget to check out, if you want to know everything else about podcasting, go to yourhitechredneck.com, HITECH. All right, guys, peace out. All right, laters.